Greetings, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to 31 Days to Business Startup. It is day 13. And really, today is, again, I'm talking about business structure. It's kind of a follow up to day 12, which I talk about the nonprofit business structure. But today we're going to be focusing on the for profit business structure, but more specifically, the legal business structure for your business. I provided a checklist, and I'm not going to go through all that because I think people generally know what to do when they're starting up their business. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why think about the concept of business structure for your business. And a lot of it has to do with, I think, part and parcel has to do with liability. If there is any kind of aspect to your business where you could be held liable for the product and or service that you're providing to your client or customer, you're really going to want to be thinking about a legalized business structure versus just being kind of a sole proprietor or be a solopreneur. Because you want to be able to protect yourself from not only the legal implications, but the financial implications of someone possibly taking you to court or suing you for wrongdoing. And it's not necessarily that you meant to do anything wrong, but that it's going to be alleged. It could be alleged, and then you could find yourself in a legal situation. So when you're thinking about the legal structure, I want you to take and consider the following. There's what we call the ownership rules, and then there's personal versus company liability. There's the tax laws, the documents that you will need to form your company, and then the type of management that will occur as a result of your legal business structure, and then capital contribution. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of talk a little bit specifically about each one and what they mean depending on the structure that you choose. So let me just say this, there's kind of what I would call four broad strokes of legal business structure. There is a sole proprietor, right? And then there's what we call partnerships. And those can take on a couple different, you can do partnerships in a couple different ways. And so that's more of maybe a legal agreement between two people or more about the fact that they own the business. And then there's what we call limited liability status as your business, and there's actually a whole bunch of different kinds of limited liability as well, because it depends on the nature of your business. You may need a specific type of limited liability. And then there's the corporation. And so in terms of ownership rules, if you're the sole owner, then of course you're the sole owner. If you're a general partnership, then you and your partners are the owner of the business. But if you're a limited liability, then the ownership is really is the business. The business, you own the business, but the ownership is kind of sometimes in some respects diverted back to the business and its members if it's a membership type of business. And then for corporations, of course, the corporation is the owner, so to speak, of the business. Yes, people actually run it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of weird, but that's just how it goes. And then in terms of liability, look, if you're a sole proprietor or you're a partnership, you are liable for anything that goes on with your business. All the other business structures, there is the liability rests with the business and not with you personally. And so this is really, when I think about legal business structure, this is the part that you need to do the research. You need to understand the dynamics of your business and ensure that you set up the right legal structure really to protect yourself and to protect your money. So this is the part that I think is most important. And then there's also the other aspects like tax treatment. And so for all these businesses, there are taxes to be paid as it relates to your business. And then with corporations, there's a whole nother dynamics around taxes. And then control for, like I said, the sole proprietor and the partnership, you are controlling your business. However, for corporations, they have a board of they usually have a board of directors, I'm sorry. And then for limited liability, there's usually what we call an operating agreement. And whoever is appointed in that operating agreement, they're the ones in charge of managing the business. And then capital contribution, that just means like how much money do you have to bring to the table in order to create the business structure, legal business structure. And for all of these, you don't really have to bring any money necessarily to the table, but it may cost you money in to establish the legal structure, and especially as it relates to corporations, because usually people are buying shares. They are partner. They are funding part of this endeavor. And then, in terms of the ease of establishing these, I would say that it's easier to just become a sole proprietor, easy to become partners. It starts to get a little bit more challenging because you have a lot more paperwork when you start to do limited liability. And then, of course, as a corporation, you have all those things you need to do, like a board of directors, articles of incorporation, bylaws, really similar to almost like a nonprofit organization. And so those are the things that you want to really take in consideration when you're thinking about your legal business structure. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with this. Look, as you're growing your business, you're going to create assets. And however, liability is one of those things that can decrease your overall net worth. And you want to limit the amount of liability in your business. And so, again, you'll have to take a further look at the nature of your business and if there is any potential implications that can happen, and you could find yourself in court. But liability also has to do with a lot of financial things as well. Has to do with some aspects of your assets, overhead, stuff like that. But you want the highest net worth, and so as a result, you want to limit the amount of liability. And so make sure that you create the business structure to support that. I hope this has been helpful, family. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Visit our website. Take really good care of yourselves, and peace and love, family.